Okay, so I'm going to start off by telling you a story about something that happened to me a few months back. I was driving in my car, and I was kind of nearby the Siebel Center for Computer Science, where I work at the University of Illinois. And I was at this intersection of Goodwin and Springfield, which is right down the street from the Siebel Center. And I was driving along in my car, and I came to this red light. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to turn right so I could get to work. And this car in front of me wanted to go straight. But it was kind of weird, philosophically, because I wanted to turn right. And there's no laws that would prevent me from turning right, but I couldn't because there was someone in front of me who wanted to go straight. And they were somehow blocking me from turning right. So this is an interesting issue that kind of comes up sometimes when we drive, and there's different kind of forms of it. Now, it turns out this issue comes up in networking as well. It comes up inside routers. And it's this notion of head-of-line blocking. And what happens in head-of-line blocking is there can be a packet at the head of a queue which can't be sent, but that packet is preventing other packets behind it from being sent. And this comes up in the context of routing and switching. It comes up in all sorts of other areas too, like Kubernetes jobs, or if you have a storm pipeline or things like that, and you have jobs behind it that get blocked. So this issue comes up a lot in networking. So to kind of understand head-of-line blocking, let's go through an example in more detail. So let's have some packets arrive on input port 1. Suppose this packet arrives and wants to go to output port 1, so no problem, the backplane will send it there. Then a packet comes in, destined for output port 2, it'll be sent there, and so on. So we'll kind of have a series of packets arrive. And you can see these packets are starting to fill up the queues. Maybe the output ports are congested, so the output ports can't send right away. That can happen. So here's a packet that comes in, and now output port 2 is full. So if this packet comes in, well, we're in trouble. If this was an output queued router, we'd drop that packet. But let's assume this is a combined input-output queued router. So we have queues at the input interfaces and also the outbound interfaces. So this is a problem. We can't send that packet, so we have to queue up that packet. Now, the interesting thing is, what happens if another packet arrives that's destined for output port 1? It's kind of weird because there's nothing that's really preventing it from being sent. The backplane is not congested. Output port 1 has capacity to receive that packet, but we can't send it due to some hardware issues. The way the hardware is implemented, we can only send one packet at a time out that input interface. And there's another packet at the head of the queue that's blocking it. So this is head-of-line blocking. It happens when there's a cell at the head of the queue that can't be sent, and it blocks cells behind it that could otherwise be sent. Okay, so this is a problem. Now, what can we do about head-of-line blocking? Well, if you think about it, there's all sorts of things we could do. Maybe we could build kind of hardware that kind of looks behind in the queue and sends other packets or things like that. One common solution to this in routers is the notion of virtualization and virtual queuing. So the idea here is we're going to maintain at each input multiple virtual queues. For example, one per output. You can also do hashing, where you have a smaller set of virtual queues and you hash your output interfaces to those queues. You could have a smaller number if you want. But in general, it looks something like this. You have your output queues in your backplane, but instead of just having one queue per input, you're going to have multiple virtual queues. They'll be realized through a single hardware queue, but you're going to maintain multiple pointers into it, basically. And so that way, when packets arrive, maybe you have your input port 1, and you have a packet for output 2. That packet for output 2 is not going to block these other packets. So maybe there's that one packet. I want to send it to output 2, but I can't. But that's okay, because since I have virtual queues, I'm able to inspect the head of each queue and send packets from other queues. So I'll be able to send the green packet and the blue packet, and so on. So virtual queuing is a good solution to this. Unfortunately, it increased the cost of a router. So it's one of those things where if you're willing to spend more money, you can throw hardware at the problem and it'll solve it. So when you buy routers, you can look at their data sheets and you can see how they deal with head-of-line blocking. And for example, they may use virtual queuing, and you can look at how many virtual queues they have per output. And you can think about your application. If you're designing a small network without much traffic, probably not a big deal. If you have a situation where this comes up a lot, then you may want to pay extra to have ports with the capacity to do virtual queuing and deal with head of line blocking.